Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real WW Talk. I'm Candace.
And I'm Rikki.
And yet again, we are without Erin, but guys, it is short lived. She will be back next week. We are so very excited. So thanks for hanging out with us for a few weeks. Hopefully, you've been entertained, especially with Rikki and closing tabs this week. I don't know if it'll be that exciting, but Rikki, how have you been? How you doing?
I've been good. I am, just getting in the swing of things. I started your challenge this week. So I've been moving every day and that's felt really good. Sometimes there's things we don't want to do and we do them.
Because what was your
And
goal? Your goal was just to do a movement for a day.
yes,
Was there a
and I
certain time limit or anything?
5 minutes at least. And yesterday I didn't want to walk, but the weather was nice out. It wasn't too hot. I went out and walked. My back was hurting me a little bit, so I was uncomfortable. And I'd walked about 10 minutes. And I
Mhm.
said, well, I've already doubled my goal. I don't have to keep going. And part of me just wanted to do 30 minutes. I wanted to say, well, I have to do 30 minutes because what is a walk if I'm not outside for at least 30 minutes? Some people go out walking for an hour, 2 hours. But I said, you know what? I'm uncomfortable, but I see that I'm at the end of the block. Like the end of the block is just one more little stretch. So I said, how about I keep going and then turn around? So the walk ended up being 20 minutes and I felt good about that. It was more than the 5 minutes that I set my goal as, and it was less than what I felt like I should have done. But I got steps in, I got activity in on a day I otherwise may not have gotten it. And so I felt really good.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I heard so many wins there because the perfectionists in us are
Mhm.
these goals or thoughts that we have about how long something needs to be for it to count. I love the
Mhm.
fact that you challenged that and said, okay, like doesn't have to be an hour, doesn't have to be this for it to be meaningful or impactful.
Right.
It's more about the consistency. So
Mhm.
that was the whole point of the challenge. So you won. You win. If I had Bravo stickers, I have a random crystal that I don't know why it's here, but there you go. That is
Thank you.
fantastic. And I feel like, that's something that you would think that over the years that we've been doing this, that would have been the first thing that we would have learned and cemented. But that takes time to change your brain
It does.
because I feel like in the society that we're in, we're taught that volume and how we do it counts. Like it has to be
Mhm.
this much, and that's the only time that people will care and your body's going to
Mhm.
react. And it's like, well, I think it reacts to me trying,
Yes,
you
I
know?
agree. It's meaningful just
Yeah.
going out there doing something because a lot of times, at least in my world, it is the all or nothing. It's
Yeah.
like if I don't commit to saying I'm going to do a 30-minute, hour-long workout, then I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything then. And it doesn't have to be either or in that way.
Yeah. And to your same, in the same vein of what you shared, I had that a similar kind of challenge and had to let go of the desire to do more and to be upset if it was less because I have been on my Peloton, but I've been only able to do for time constraints like
Mhm.
15, 20-minute workouts
Mhm.
in the morning, which is what my goal is. But normally I do 30, 45 minutes. Like that's my sweet spot. And I was like, well, if
Mhm.
I can't do 30 minutes, then what's the point? And I said, no, 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 no. I'm going to find a really fun 15-minute workout and I'm going to make sure that it counts. And I
Mhm.
felt great because some of those 15-minute workouts, depending on who the instructor is, oh, don't sleep on it. They'll have you
Oh,
standing
yeah.
up and you're like, wait a second. This is
Mhm.
supposed to be like, I thought it was like a warm up. Oh no.
No, they can get you sweating in 5 minutes in.
Yeah. And I think that was a reminder to me that I still got off the bike. I still felt good.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't tied to me needing it for losing weight. I wanted to tie it to my energy because I'm finding that the exercise that I've been implementing, it's nicer outside. I've been doing a lot of walking and the bike, but that anytime I move, I feel better.
Mhm.
And I think I had shared with you that the drug that I'm on can cause me to feel really stiff if I don't move.
Mhm.
So now it's not just about like trying to do it to get an extra point for Weight Watchers or, you know, vanity reasons, or it's really to make myself feel better.
Mhm. That's
So that's
awesome.
been
Glad.
really, really good. But it made me think about when we were talking last week, and I love the topic, and we got so many positive, a lot of you all commented that you understood what it was to reboot
Mhm.
and have of those things. But I was thinking about the fact that, we're in a new month,
Mhm.
now June, and you know how I feel about new months. I love them. But I have also been a person who has waited to sometimes, especially if I'm off track, I'll wait until a new month or wait until a new
Mhm.
week to start to make changes, because I think I just like to continue with the patterns that I have, especially if I'm eating off track.
Mhm.
And something about a new month or a new week gives me free reign to do that. And I was thinking about how I feel like I'm getting away with something and I'm not.
No.
When we were talking last week about rebooting our systems, we talked about if you had just continued to keep trying, we would have really been impacted with our future episodes.
Mhm.
But because you took action at the time that you didn't say, I'll wait till next week, I'll wait until tomorrow to change it, we were able to do what we needed to do to get everything moving forward. And I wanted to just throw it
Mhm.
out there for you. I thought this, again, especially new month. There's some people who may have joined me and started this whole I'm going to be better now, and you waited until June to get here to do it. But why do we do that, Rikki?
Hmm.
Can you tell me why? Like, what is it that we feel we really gain long term?
I think it's an excuse. It's an
Yeah.
excuse to stay stuck in our behaviors that are
Okay.
not good for us, but make us feel good. If I feel better sitting on the couch than going for a walk, I may know that going for a walk is healthy for me and good for me, but I build up in my head it's going to be hard. I'm going to be sweaty, and then I'm going to be uncomfortable, and then I'm going to have to, we build it up into this thing that it's not, or like to make it seem like it's so much harder than it is. And we give ourselves a reason not to do it by saying we're going to do it later. We're going to prolong that time until we have to do it.
So it's that foreshadowing, and the foreshadowing is always negative. I've never
Mhm.
ever heard us say any type of foreshadowing about something that we want to do that would be in a positive light. Like, you know what?
Mhm.
If I get started now, I'm going to feel so much better. It's always, oh, if I get started now, then I can't have that cheesecake because I'm going out with my friends
Mhm.
tonight. And then I'm going to feel deprived. And then this. And what ends up happening for me is it makes it worse. If I'm just honest.
Mhm.
I don't feel better. Sometimes if I decide I'm in a bingey mood and I put it off
Mhm.
because I want to just complete the binge, I don't feel good. Like, it's not like
Mhm.
I go, oh, that made a whole lot of sense. I love feeling bloated and um, full of sugar and things that I shouldn't have, and
Mhm.
not shouldn't, but you know what I mean, to the
Right.
excess that I've had. I don't go into that weigh in. It makes me want to do more negative things. I want to skip my
Mhm.
weigh in. I want to hide. I want to not check in with my accountability partners. I don't want to work out. It
Mhm.
just amplifies the negative when I don't nip it in the bud. Because
Mhm.
I think sometimes when you start, if you're able to catch something quick, and
Mhm.
they talk about weight loss on a spectrum. You've always heard that about, like, there's people who caught it at 5 pounds. I always joke about my mother. If you're listening, hey girl, caught it at 5 pounds, right? And then she was like,
Mhm.
oh no, I got to get this off. And she
Mhm.
did. So that was like conflict. She had a conflict and she
Mhm.
did not delay. She was like, I got to do this.
Mhm.
Then there's me and some others who we waited,
Mhm.
and now we have a lot more to
Mhm.
lose, and it's grown.
Right. And I think it's hard once you get to that point because you've built it up in your head that it's so hard. But then in the time of the waiting and delaying, if you have continued to gain weight, you've made it so much harder. And I say I have done that.
Mhm,
I've made it so much harder for myself. And
mhm,
now I'm at a point where not only do I have more weight to lose, I am older.
mhm.
And we all know that there's more challenges the older you get with, you know, getting the weight off at the same rate you could have done it maybe in your teens or 20s.
Mhm. And I think that we don't really there's something about a veil. I don't know if it's a veil over our eyes, but in the moment when we're making the decision, I don't feel like that's crystallized, crystal clear to
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
because you're just so focused on what it is that you feel you want in that moment.
Yeah.
And, I've worked in the field of addiction, I've talked about it when I used to work with the veterans, and one of the things they try to get you to do is that mental forecasting of what's the decision, how am I going to get you to focus on what the long-term effect is of this decision?
Mhm.
But I think having to find the way to stop and really consider repercussions is so hard to do, especially if you're someone who's visually triggered like me,
Mm.
or, I'm the type who I could be fine until I see a cupcake. If
Yeah.
it's put in my face and you telling me, and I will come up, I'm a master manipulator. I know how to figure out how to make it work
Mhm.
because I want it.
Yeah.
And I'll justify to the heavens that it makes sense and that it makes sense for me to wait to restart until Saturday, which is my weigh-in day, or wait until
Mhm.
June because that makes sense. And before you know, we're already halfway through the year
Mm.
and I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
You and I have always talked about, we always have these goals like for this vacation, I'm going to do this and it's going to be this. But the reason we don't hit our goals is because it's a series of decisions that we've decided to push off. It's
Mhm.
I'm just going to I can wait until this day. And I'm going to go away from my accountability people who are supposed to keep me in check. And I don't want to be kept in check because I want whatever I want right now. That
Mhm.
5-year-old comes out.
Yeah. It can be very stubborn.
Yeah.
That makes me think one thing that you mentioned was just some people, see that long-term goal and they're able to kind of stop themselves from taking advantage or in this case eating what is
Mhm.
the short-term thing that they want. Do you think that there's some people who are just better at remembering and focusing on those long-term goals? Like I sometimes, not making it an us versus them thing, but that's the thing I struggle with the most, and I wonder if there's some correlation, if other people can relate to having such a difficult time in the moment when I want something, delaying that gratification and saying, I know that saying no to this now is saying yes to something in the future. I can say that over and over again. But like you said, if there's a slice of cake and I really want it, I'm not thinking about how this is going to help me 5, 10 years down the line. And I'm praying it doesn't take that long to get to my weight loss goal. But when I'm at goal, like, are some people just better at that? And does that make them more successful? What do you think it is?
I think everybody has their thing, right?
Mhm.
So maybe in the world of food, like us fellow foodies,
Mhm.
I think life can sometimes make you more disciplined and more like, I told you when I went through and was at the beginning of the cancer journey and
Yeah.
you're very, very, you're focused, right? Because you
Mhm.
have to be. And I have no reason. I still have to be now, but
Yeah.
you had shared when you had a health challenge, which wasn't as
Mhm.
bad, but it was something that it was acute and it
Mhm.
makes you disciplined because you're really focused on what the side effect could be if you don't.
Mhm.
I think that the trick in our mind that is there is lessening the impact, right?
Mhm.
And I think that some people who are constantly dealing with repercussions, like I think of Erin. Erin
Mhm.
has to be gluten free because if she doesn't, she's going to get sick,
Yeah.
right? So she has an immediate desire and need to be compliant with not eating gluten, not having gluten
Mhm.
in her diet. People sometimes feel like they're winning if they don't have any side effects from eating foods. Like I used to
Mhm.
have a friend who she's one of those stick thin friends and she's, oh, I just can't gain weight. And you're like, oh, sorry. Like I don't know what to say. That's really sucks. Hope that,
Mhm.
I'm praying for you. But for her, she really food has always made her ill if she eats it too
Mhm.
quickly or only eats certain amounts. And I used to be prideful in saying, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have any side effects from food. I can eat whatever I want and I have like a lead stomach. Nothing happens. Well, the bad part about that is that nothing happens.
Mhm.
And so therefore it helps me I'm still gaining weight. So something does happen. But in terms of me
Mhm.
feeling ill,
Mhm.
that isn't a repercussion.
Yeah.
So her discipline is because she feels effects.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes that's the difference between some and others. And others, it could be that they've had family members who have been impacted by obesity or impacted by negative decisions. But they may struggle with money. They may struggle with
Mhm.
something else.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's that someone's better. I just think that the desire, like, and when you realize what you're saying to keep yourself stuck, like I know when I'm full of crap. Rikki, you know when I'm full of crap. And there's a cycle that you do to it in a way that you justify in your mind. That
Mhm.
usually is minimizing the damage that is being done.
Mhm.
It just minimizes it. So you don't feel like you're doing anything that is going to amplify or make it much worse. It's just one day. I'm
Right.
just going to have this meal with my friends. I deserve to have this meal with my friends without having to count points. I'm not going to walk today because it's sticky outside. And I don't really feel like it because I walked yesterday. And
Mhm.
honestly, I don't want to do it till I get back from my trip.
Mhm.
I posted about this on my honesty. It's always something, and it makes a whole lot of sense in the moment.
And we can get external validation from so many people for doing
Oh, yeah.
those things.
Mhm.
If I said, "Oh gosh, I'm overweight. I need to walk. I need to just go walking." Yeah, sure you'd have friends who'd be like,
Mm-mm,
"Yeah,
get up.
let's
Yeah.
walk with you. Let's do walking. Let's go walking together." But a lot of times if you pull out the I'm overweight, I need to walk. I'm so tired. I feel like I'm stressed at work. You say the right things. Anyone's going to say, "Well, start tomorrow. You don't have to do it right now. Give yourself a rest." There's very few friends who
Yeah.
honestly will be like, "You know what? You need to go for that walk. You said you're going to do it. Do it."
Yeah.
And we need those friends. We need that accountability, but
And when you have them, you
more
get annoyed with them.
right.
Who do you think you are? Because you don't know what I've been through. And for
Mhm,
people, you and I both have said this. This is a challenge with our personalities. We will dig our foot in. I'm gonna dig our
mhm,
feet in. Like I said, that's just gonna make me even more headstrong
mhm. Don't tell
to
me what
my
to do.
detriment. So if I'm like, Ricky, let's go for a walk, and you're like, you don't understand. I was out late last night and I really need 8 hours of sleep because
Mhm,
I can't function on less. And I'm like,
mhm,
well, Ricky, I mean, it's a 30-minute walk. I think you can handle it. I'm not gonna walk this morning. I'll
then
figure it out. I'll
no.
do it later. And you need to I will let you know when I do it.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna go silent so that you can't reach me. I wasn't near my phone. Okay. Because I don't want to be called out. I don't
Yeah,
want to do it.
yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's why they say that you can't do things for other people.
Mm,
I might still have to go for the walk without you, but you're going to feel whatever the repercussion is based on it. Doesn't mean you may feel it immediately. Doesn't mean that if you don't go on the walk, you're going to like die or whatever, but it could mean that
mhm.
you don't feel good.
Yeah.
And conflict delayed, it's conflict amplified. So
Mhm,
because you don't move your body, maybe you're stiff and maybe you don't do it another day. And then you feel guilty and it leads into what you're eating because
mhm,
you're disappointed because you didn't do it in the morning and it becomes a pattern.
mhm,
And I think that once you start to see that pattern, it has to be internal.
mhm.
No one can do it for you to be able to say, this is just not okay.
Yeah.
For me, it usually starts with clothes. Like, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. So, all of these things I think I'm getting away with, I'm getting away with nothing. My
Mhm.
body is keeping a record.
Mhm.
Everybody, whether they say it or not, like, I know that I'm gaining weight. I
Mhm,
know that I don't feel, so what am I winning by
mhm.
putting it off?
Yeah. I mean, I see the same thing with tracking because I think, especially having been on WW for a long time, tracking is the most basic thing that I can do. But it becomes such a chore, and it becomes something that is so far in the back of my mind that it's
Mhm.
kind of like, well, why am I not? Why am I saying I'm doing WW and I'm not tracking? And it compounds. That's the conflict in this example of the scenario. Like it compounds to the point where it's like, I haven't been doing this for so long that now the habit is not tracking
Yeah.
and the habit is not opening my WW app. And the conflict is I'm still not seeing the success I want to see as quickly as I want to see it
Yeah.
because I'm not truly doing everything I can to make sure that I'm staying within my points every day.
And I think that then leads to defensiveness that we
Mhm.
do because there's guilt because we know like you're saying with the tracking. For my challenge, I did that 5-day challenge. My
Mhm.
goal was honestly tracking
Yeah.
for 5 days straight. And people may say, well, you were supposed to pick something hard. Well, no, like that's something I had not been consistently doing because whenever I hit a roadblock, and the roadblock for me is whenever I have to count something that's high point, I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
as if somehow not putting it in the tracker means that it didn't happen when it certainly did. but that accountability is forced on you with tracking.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, because I did the tracking and was honest about it, I lost 3, 4 pounds
Mm.
pretty
Wow.
quickly. So this whole like statement about like being in menopause and other thing, and I can't lose weight, it takes away the excuse, and that can feel hurtful because it's like,
Mhm.
really, there are things that are in my control. I
Mhm.
did this with my delaying, with my excuses,
Mhm.
with the things, and that's just like we talked about last week, that's a hard pill to swallow, that
Mhm.
you are responsible for where you are in your life, and all of the
Yeah.
things that you don't like really have a lot to do with the fact that you didn't really see the value, or maybe that's harsh. Like, you didn't see the value in pushing forth in the moment,
Mhm.
or the trigger was so strong.
Mm.
It's hard to say no.
Yeah, I don't think that's too harsh at all. I think being accountable to ourselves is the biggest thing we can do.
Mhm,
And, sharing that with others and making sure other people who we trust and we know will keep us accountable,
mhm.
that we let them help us, that
Yeah,
we accept help. And I think that's so hard to do because, there are times where we do need to show our trackers to a friend to make sure we're doing it. It's something that's so simple, it's seeming for us to do it ourselves, but if we don't know, or if we know that no one's going to see it, does it make it easier to not do it one day,
yeah.
you know?
And also know that it's not helpful to play whatever games you play.
Mhm.
Because even with like accountability partners, 'cause that's a whole nother discussion I think we should discuss in the future. It's like,
Yeah.
accountability partners are excellent, but if you're already full of caca and poo poo, and you're really good at what you do, they always say
Mhm.
that people who struggle with addiction are master manipulators. That's one thing that's known
Mm.
for sure. So
Mhm.
if I can have an accountability partner until I don't want it,
Yeah.
and when I don't want it, I know how to get that person off of me. And
Mhm.
it's usually insert whatever lie, or I forgot, huh? What? And if you find a person who's not very aggressive,
Mhm.
um, you can get them to back off,
Mhm.
or you can use their aggressiveness to say, "You're pushing a boundary. I don't want to talk to you."
Yeah.
But you're losing, right?
Mhm.
That's the whole point. It's you're losing. So it's not about somebody else. It's about what it is that you want for yourself. So when I think about the fact that we're getting ready to come on, we have what, one more month left until we're the middle of 2023.
Oh my
July
god.
is like 1 month away.
Mhm.
That's crazy. When
I
you think
can't
of
believe it.
January, when to start the new month, and if someone were to say, "Where do you want to be in 6 months?" You're like, "Well, that's 6 months from now,
Mm.
a month from now." How many times have we delayed starting, restarting, rebooting, doing whatever we needed to do that has
Mm.
gotten us to this point that now June is the month, 1 month before the 6 month period. And that's fine if it is. But I think
Mhm.
that if you were to really be honest and journal, I'm a journaler, and say, what has my pattern been for the past 5 months
Mhm.
with stopping and starting and restarting and doing and doing? What needs to change?
Mhm.
Because I don't like that I'm being consistent in staying stagnant.
Yeah.
One thing I'm consistent in is my stagnant space. And that's because there's this continual focus on getting to Saturday,
Mhm.
not finding value in the next day.
Mhm.
I don't know about you. It's like
Yeah.
I'm focused on a new week.
Yeah. I think we are creatures of habit, and I can completely relate to that. That's me 100%, especially with the Saturday weekend weigh-in.
Mhm,
It is so hard to start fresh on a Saturday because it's the day where your routine breaks in a
mhm,
way. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't do the same exact thing every Saturday. Monday through Friday, it's consistent.
mhm,
But once I get to Saturday, yeah, I start with, a virtual meeting, and I have a part-time job I log into for a couple hours. But then I could be resting at home. I could be getting a lunch with a friend. I could be having a game night. There's so many different things, and half of them, more than half of them, probably revolve around food.
mhm,
So I think knowing that we're creatures of habit and making the effort to say, "I'm gonna change it," is probably one of the hardest things to do,
Mhm.
but it's the most necessary for me to do, and I don't know about you if you agree with that, but, like, it's the most important thing that I can do to help myself knowing, "Hey, it's Saturday. What's
Yeah.
my habit? Something is gonna be involving food today. I need to track, I need to prioritize working out because I don't like to work out on the weekend because I'm quote unquote busy.
Mhm.
How can I break the cycle this Saturday?"
Yeah. Well, I think that's such a good point. And like my pattern that I've noticed is
Mhm.
day 2 is always the hardest for me. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
And day 2 in the Saturday scenario is Sunday. The
Okay.
Saturday, the points reset. Oh, it's like you're getting your paycheck. I'm good. I can have treats and things because
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm good. Sunday, I might have to deal with, okay, now, um, I don't have as many points left. I'm gonna have to rein it in a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, I have to do something. But if I did, let's say I went over because
Mhm.
and then I'm like, I'm a failure because I wasn't
Mhm.
perfect. I see a negative in my in my points tracker. I'm gonna stop tracking.
Mm.
That's the end of the week for
Yeah.
me. Because if I go into the Monday in the negative, not feeling good, you can forget Monday through Friday because I'm going to give an excuse. I'm going to delay having to deal
Mhm.
with stuff. And that's when I'll start with, you know what? It's really not good to weigh in every day. I'm not going to look at the scale. And counting points, you really have to be careful because, there's some plans where you don't have to count points. And honestly, you really shouldn't do morning exercise. All of the things just come
Mhm.
like, it's like mouth word vomit.
The
The
lies.
lies. And honestly, this week it's just a little crazy and I'm going to be going on vacation, but I'm really
Mhm.
looking forward to another month and Saturday will be here and I'm really
Mhm.
excited. It's the same thing. It's the
Sometimes
same.
you wanna just smack yourself across
Just
the face
shut
and be
up.
like,
Like,
"Just
what are you
stop."
talking about? You're not going to change anything.
Mhm.
And when I did this challenge last week, what I noticed is on that second day, I had to
Mhm.
dig deep because
Mm.
I was at the spa on the second day and like at the movie theater where like I had
Mhm.
high point stuff. Now I was
Mhm.
able to count. But it's
Wow.
like one of those days where you're like, this could have been the end of the challenge. A challenge I started, mind you,
Aw.
would have been the end. Like, no more emails to people. I'm not motivating anyone. Just forget that I said anything about 5 days. I meant 2.
But
But
you didn't.
I couldn't because I
Mhm.
put a barrier there. And maybe that's the thing that you need. Because when you have
Mhm.
accountability to yourself, especially as a reformed people pleaser, I tend to be externally validated sometimes. So if I know a lot of
Mhm.
people are looking for me to like show up, it's a little
Mhm.
harder for me
Yeah.
to not than if it's just me, which is sad. It should be that if me giving up on myself is hard enough. But I'm like, "Psh,
But I think that choosing to say, "At this point in my journey, I need to be accountable to people," is the best thing you can do to help yourself because,
mhm,
yeah, the goal is that you're accountable to self and you can say, make a promise to yourself and follow through with that without having to involve anyone else. That's perfect. That's great.
mhm,
But if you
that's
need but if that's not what you need right now, kudos to you for doing what you need
great."
and encouraging other people in the process.
And I dare say it really did help. Like I said,
Mhm.
I mean, the scale cooperated.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like I did it for the weight loss, but what it showed me was that consistency and like pushing past those
Mhm.
excuses
Yeah.
pays off. I have
Yeah.
tangible proof that pushing past because the week wasn't perfect.
Mhm.
Perfection, I think I put a quote up this week. Perfection is rooted in fear. Like
Mm.
it having to be perfect. Like I don't want to let myself down. I don't want other people to think. I don't want love to be taken away. I don't want my
Mhm.
friends to. I don't want people to think. No, perfection's a myth. You have to push through.
Mhm.
And I think that when you let go of the excuses and of confront that conflict, confront those feelings, it's uncomfortable. So that's why
Mhm.
we delay it. That just answered the question. We delay because it's uncomfortable to
Mhm.
say, to hit that point in time where it's like, it is now time for me to tell myself no.
Mhm.
It is now time for me to say, Candace, you're going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's raining. As Jay in our group said, that's why they have rain jackets. Like, who cares? What does that have to do
Mind
with me?
blown. We
Oh,
can
you
walk in the
wear those while
rain.
you're walking? Why would I do that?
What? We act like we don't have a home to come to. We can't take a warm shower or a hot bath. I mean,
He was so like blah. He was like, "Well, if it's raining, I just put a rain jacket. I don't understand. Like, what's the problem?" And we're like, "But you mean you? Oh, you walk still
in the rain.
in the rain? No excuses? Oh,
So
so I'm
that's our
hoping that for
challenge this
us,
week. Yes. I think that's our challenge this week is to embrace the hard things, to go past our comfort zones and to do something that helps us in the long term versus the short term. I feel like we've gotten a lot of great takeaways from this week.
yeah.
Thank you,
Confront the conflict
Candace.
head on, head on. Look at it and say, "I'm here. It's day
Yeah.
2. Let's do it." Yeah,
Thank you for a great conversation.
yeah.
It's been wonderful chatting. And if you guys want to see more of us, want to see what we look like, come take a look at us on our YouTube or on our Facebook. We have the podcast where you can join us, take us on a walk in the rain, maybe. And we are also on Connect. So make sure to find us. It's all linked in our bio. We had a great time chatting with you. You can
As
also
always.
connect with us through email, through realwwtalk@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.